The beast of metal endures longer than the flesh of men. Those who tend the best of metal must labor long to learn its ways. For a single beast must suffer the mastership of any men until ready to shed its vorpal coils. The civil war of the Horus Heresy tore the foundations of humanity asunder. Brother slaughtered brother in a campaign of deception led by tyrants and despots, vying for powers not meant for mortal souls. For whilst the Horus Heresy is regarded as the single act of rebellion wrought by humanity, another faction within the bounds of the solar system hastened the fall of mankind's descent into superstition and technological regression. The genesis of the Martian Civil War, the Schism of Mars. The path of the Omnissiah has left humanity dithering in the darkness, incapable of advancing on the paths of knowledge. Embracing the warp reveals technology that the primitives of Mars could never dream of wielding. With the conclusion of the Great Crusade, following the Emperor's campaigns to unite humanity under the fold of his Imperium, an accord had been struck with the priesthood of Mars. The fall of the Eldari, which had birthed the fell being Slaanesh, heralded a new exchange of galactic influence and power. The tear made in real space known as the Eye of Terror, marking the time for humanity to use warp travel once again to reclaim its domains. Yet in order to embark with the spear tip of the Space Marine Legions and Imperial Army across the void, their guns, voidcraft, and navigation systems would need technological savants to maintain their function. The Martian priesthood, known by the Imperium as the Mechanicum, had stood by the side of the Master of Mankind through their alliance made in the wake of the Unification Wars, seeing within him the avatar of their strange god of machines, the Omnissiah. An accomplished scientist in his own right, making innovations necessary to further his ambitions, the Emperor's genius forging the Thunder Legion, Astartes, and Primarch Project, further bolstered his technological divinity in the augmetic eyes of the Mechanicum. Yet it is here that fractures began to form within the consensus of Mars, for while many saw the Emperor as a prophet of the Omnissiah, others balked at the insinuation that the machine god could ever be a tangible, physical being. Though the Treaty of Mars had been signed during the year of 739.M30, allowing for the Mechanicum's continued autonomy under the protection of the might of the Imperium, whispers circulated that the Emperor was nothing more than a false god, twisting the adepts of Mars with lies and deception. For 2 Terran centuries, the bitterness and resentment of such outliers grew, recruiting sympathizers to their perspective that the Master of Mankind had not come to Mars as an ally, but a conqueror, demanding obedience by the point of his sword and amassed armies. The resentments of the age of technology began anew, a rivalry between Terra and Mars as they vied for power during humanity's era of expansion, revived as scions of the impending rebellion cited their sacred red planet as little more than a vassal world for Terra's insatiable hunger for dominance. Kelbor Hal, chief among such dissenters, rose through the ranks of the Martian priesthood in order to secure materials, resources, and disciples, accepting the appointment as the single most powerful leader of the city of Olympus Mons, the Fabricator General of Mars. Unaware of the wolf in sheep's clothing, now installed as the senior-most tech adept of the Red Planet, the Imperium busied itself reconquering the stars as the Great Crusade drew to a close. Kelbor Hal in his toil had uncovered many lost technologies during his tenure, overseeing the longest production yields and quotas of any that had preceded him, and now set his eyes on his ultimate prize. His mind and body replaced with myriad augmetic replacements, logic alone drove the Fabricator General, and without a satisfactory catalyst, his objective to usurp the Mechanicum would never be successfully achieved. However, with the fall of the Emperor's most favored son, Horus Lupercal, The opportunity to change the course of the priesthood's destiny presented itself.
Those fools and their talk of spirits and rights. Technology is cause and consequence, mechanism and effect, and should not be so restrained and mishandled as those red-robed simpletons would believe.
With the corruption of the War Master of the Imperium to the thrall of Chaos, Horus Lupercal dispatched an emissary of his will to convene with the Fabricator General. Tech Adept Regulus of Horus's expeditionary fleet ventured to Mars with an offer from the Champion of Chaos. Ally with the War Master, and your dreams of rebellion shall be achieved. Hesitant at first, Kelbor reflected on the promises made by the Emperor, surmising that the pledge of the Imperium and Mechanicum cooperating as equals rang hollow. The Forge Worlds of the Mechanicum had toiled endlessly to resupply and arm the Emperor's armies, and for all their effort had received only the merest scraps of platitudes as reward. Yet now, the Master of Mankind was nowhere to be seen, his mightiest son now leading his vast armies, offering a chance to reject his authority. Guaranteeing the might of his traitor alliance, the War Master demanded that to achieve their mutual ambitions, all dissent within the Mechanicum must be purged, for soon his armies would charge towards the Throne World in order to dethrone the Tyrant of Terra. Refusing the War Master's empty assertions, Kelbor Hal would not risk so much to exchange one despot for another. Yet on the moment where the alliance seemed destined to fail, Regulus presented a gift from the Lupercal. Informing the Fabricator General of the Sons of Horus's procurement of ancient STC artifacts taken from the subjugated Orician technocracy, and gifting an immensely valuable STC database to his care. Should Kelbor Hal join him in his rebellion, these relics of the past and more would be his. Restrictions on the study of abominable intelligences would be lifted, and all non-Mechanicum personnel from the vast fiefdoms of Mars would be withdrawn upon the War Master's crowning as the new Master of Mankind, cementing their alliance with the inclusion of the protocols required to unlock the vaults of Moravec, containing dangerous forbidden knowledge, chaos-tainted artifacts, and techno-arcana derived from the Men of Iron beneath Olympus Mons. Kelbor acceded to the War Master's proposal. Opening the sealed vaults of Moravec with all haste, Kelbor Hal unleashed the tide of chaos-corrupting essence within. The Red Planet's temples and forges infected with scrap code as the malign influence of the ruinous powers took root. Computer viruses spread mayhem throughout the strands of data within each and every cogitator and logistack of the Mechanicum's collective archives, poisoning Mars astropaths, leading to the Red Planet's communication systems incurring massive disruption as their forges fell silent. Marshalling his forces, the Fabricator General used the communications blackout to his advantage, attempting to cull those who remained loyal to the false prophet of the Omnissiah. You may say it is impossible for a man to become like the machine, and I would reply that only the smallest mind strives to comprehend its limits. Despite the best efforts of the traitors, several bastions of Mars remained pure of corruption, safeguarded from the devastating scrap code by their adoption of the wireless noosphere technology discovered by the explorator Laszlo. Confronting the traitors within their ranks, within the forges of Coriel Zeph and Dipluvian Maximal, Fabricator Locum Zagreus Kane led the counterattack against their former brethren, resisting the call of Kelbor Hal and his Dark Mechanicum. Though civil war had not yet erupted, mayhem was spreading across Mars. The conglomerated tech heresy of war, constructed by Lucas Krom, the Kaban machine, destroying the plasma reactor complex of Adept Appluvian Maximal. Enacting sabotage tactics, assassinations, and acts of aggression among the loyalist forces in order to provoke a response, Kelbor Hal unleashed the Titan legions of Mortis against the territories of Legio Tempestus. chaos and dissent grew as Technomagi Coriel Zeph of the Magma City openly declared her loss of faith in the Omnissiah, remaining loyal to the Emperor regardless of her crisis of faith. Citing the Technomagi's apostasy as an act of heresy, the Dark Mechanicum invoked the sacred doctrines of the cult Mechanicus and declared her a heretic, seeking vindication of their acts of violence made upon the Magma City. The first recorded act of violence made with the first moments of the war made against the forge of Sinus Sabaeus. The Titans of Legio Magna tore through the gates of Magos Matthias Kefra's domain, slaying untold laborers whilst torching the Madla Crater's vast libraries containing thousands of years of collective knowledge. The fabrication yards of High Magos Ahotep of the Kanisi Crater smothered in the flames of hundreds of thermonuclear missiles, their yield filling the 415 kilometers of land, soaring into mushroom clouds of 70 kilometers in height. The Deathstalkers of Princeps Ulrich did battle against the Legio Honorum of the fortress of Maxen Vledigs. The fallout from such god machines of war, destroying 19 Honorum war machines in the span of a solar hour, as their calls of reinforcement went unanswered. The Legio Ignatum fought the Burning Star Legio within the Athabasca Valles to a stalemate, lasting a night of calamitous mechanized brawls before both retreated to tend to their wounds. The cogitators of logic engines of the forge of Fabricator Locum Kane, Mondus Oculum, howled in agony as scrapcode seeped into their minds, the quick actions of their master in shutting down his forge's input-output highways, ending the suffering of those who had not adopted their new spheric upgrades. The first wave of Skitarii and combat servitors of Kelbor Hal repelled by Appluvian Maximal. For his temerity, the Fabricator General deployed Ordinatus weaponry to turn the tide of battle to his favor. 900,000 Tech Guard clashed within the Herschel impact basin of Mare Tyrrhenum, the brutal close-quarters combat refusing to abate until all but a handful of survivors remained. In orbit, the Arch Mechanicus, Mechanicum Glorian, fell to the guns of traitor vessels, its carcass crashing onto the surface of Mars's Basilica of the Blessed Algorithm, killing billions across the millions of square kilometers of the impact site. Most heinous of all would be the fate of the forge of Ismenius Lacus, its populace of 14 million souls perishing to bombardments of virus bombs in mere seconds. Legio Tempestus and the Knights of House Tyrannus, led by the Imperator-class Titan Aquila Ignis, led siege to the Magma City, surrounding the combined strength of Maximal and Kane's forces. Managing to stall their offensive by capitalizing on using lava from the Magma City upon the traitor Titans, despite the efforts of Legion Tempestus in destroying many of their foes, including the Aquila Ignis, the Loyalists could not hold the line alone. Yet soon, the warriors of the Emperor would receive word of the unfolding chaos on Mars, and deploy countermeasures to combat the traitors.
Silent in the Calixian extent are worlds from which the Omnissiah has withdrawn his blessings. They trail their parent stars like errant children, struck dumb and bloodied. Their ruins are profound, their catacombs endless, their savages sorrowful. For these wards of the Imperium of mankind have paid a great and terrible price for the tech heresy of their forebears.
Upon receiving word of the chaos erupting upon the planet of Mars, the Regent of Terra, Malkador the Sigillite, took immediate action. Ordering the Praetorian of Terra, Rogel Dawn, with command of the relief efforts of the Red Planet, the Vigilant orchestrated a mission to preserve the invaluable forges of the Imperial war effort. Dispatching his first captain, Sigismund, with 4 companies and a force of the Imperial army to infiltrate Mars, the Seneschals of the 7th Legion descended upon the manufactoria of Mundus Gamma and Mondus Oculum. Tasked with securing the power armor and weapon forges of the Adeptus Astartes, Sigismund took to the field of Mondus Oculum alongside 13 companies of the Saturnine Hoplites. Advancing upon the forged domain of Appluvian Maximal, Captain Camba Diaz simultaneously made planetfall within the Mondus Gamma complex, reinforced by 2 companies of the 7th Legion, alongside 4 regiments of the Jovian Grenadiers. Adjusting to setback after setback, as their best-laid plans fell to ruin, the Imperial Fist struggled to combat the tech heresies constructed by the Dark Mechanicum, as they attempted to secure the Forges. Refusing to surrender, despite being outnumbered 100 to 1, Camba Diaz secured the Astartes Power Armor Forge of Mondus Gamma, incurring the wrath of Magos Lucas Crom. As Diaz's men fell back to the landing fields in the wake of the immense casualties to his men, Sigismund secured crucial supplies as his assessment of the battlefield worsened. Relieved to find the loyalist forces of Zagreus Kane remaining defiant against the tide of traitors, Sigismund ordered his men to gather as many munitions and equipment as possible, knowing that soon the line would break. Aiding Sigismund's men with labor from his servitors, fabricator Locum Kane managed to load 12,000 suits of Mark IV, 5, and 6 patterns of power armor into the Voidcraft of the Imperial Fists, and over 20,000 weapons before the stalwart defense of his soldiers faltered. Mondus Oculum could not be saved, for on the horizon a vast army of armored vehicles, infantry, Skitarii, and 60 titans of the traitor legions loomed. Suppressing his hunger to seek vengeance against the betrayers of the Emperor, Sigismund knew that his charge was of critical importance for their inevitable defense of the Imperial Palace, reluctantly withdrawing from Mars alongside Kane and his men. Within hours, Mondus Oculum and Mondus Gamma were little more than rubble, the loss of their irreplaceable technologies stifling the Loyalists from replenishing their combat losses significantly for the grim future it would one day inherit. Departing from the Red Planet, mere thousands of loyal souls could be retrieved from the fray, the Battlefleet Solar blockading the planet to prevent the Dark Mechanicum from spreading further chaos. Though many attempts to break through the blockade would be attempted, the efforts of Imperial Fist Commander Efreed contained the threat within the Sol system for 9 years until the arrival of the traitors during the Siege of Terra. Living in the shadow of the Iron Warriors Primarch's efforts, Perturabo during the siege, the fate of the vainglorious and conniving fabricator general Kelbor Hal remains unknown, yet his malevolent heretics live on to this day. Driven from the Red Planet during the Loyalist Great Scouring of the traitors, the Dark Mechanicum have pledged their souls to the Dark Gods to further their knowledge of forbidden technologies. Maintaining outposts within the Eye of Terror and dark corners of the galaxy, the Fel Mirror of the Adeptus Mechanicus continue to maintain the weapons and armaments of traitor Astartes, corrupted Knight Houses, and Titan Legios. Consumed with a thirst for knowledge, unrestrained by morality, these heretics, not content with their atrocities committed on Mars, continue to conduct their fell experiments in their efforts to destroy their false prophet of the Golden Throne.
You know my thinking on this, Lord Malcador, Kane told the Sigillite. The situation on Mars has been intolerable for some time now.
I think Lord Dorn agrees with you, Fabricator General.
Then why did he allow his legionaries to abandon the Forge World principle to the enemy? The Martian asked, his optics searing from the darkness of his hood. Rogel Dorn slowed and turned, his armored form like a wall of adamantium.
Simple, General Kane,
the Primarch said. His voice resembled the splitting of rock.
Supply and demand. You are familiar with the concept, I trust.
Now my lord mocks the very principles upon which the Martian-Terran Concord historically exists.
Then you understand,
Dorn continued, bulldozing his way through the Mechanicum Overlord's indignity.
That the forces of the Legiones Astartes are already stretched. That war of an unprecedented scale sweeps through the galaxy, converging, intensifying, growing in its power to decimate and annihilate, intent on sating itself, as all wars do, on the innocent and the unprepared.
Dorn looked to the sun, rising above the walls, citadels and bastions of the transforming palace.
Every one of my Imperial fists will be needed to stand before such a ravenous monster and the living treachery that is my brother Horus. Throughout the solar system, across Terra, on the walls of this very palace, I thought not to waste such a precious resource in holding a handful of forge temples against the mighty and collective constructs of all Mars. Supply and demand, Fabricator General.
Zagreus Kane felt like he was standing on the slopes of a rumbling volcano. Supply and demand, the Fabricator General repeated back to the Primarch. Is that why you came for your armor and munitions?
I can hardly be expected to fight such a war without them.
What about the citizen construct of Mars, my lord? Kane shot back at him. What about the lives of the priests, artisans, and temple thralls who labored to forge your weapons and equipment?
You demonstrate a surprising amount of passion for a subject of the machine god,
Dawn said. The right to life is the same, the Fabricator General said. Whether your wondrous workings hang on a bone or a construct chassis. Now, my lord, if you please, what about the lives of my people? Dawn looked to the Sigillite, who gave him the unreadable look of a man unwilling to answer to or judge the impossible choices of another.
They died so that their fine works might reach hands that would turn such crafts into instruments of avenging death,
Rogel Dawn told Kane, firmly.
Warriors who would use such wonders to bring justice to the fallen and punish those who had truly condemned Martian innocence to a disposable fate.
The three men didn't speak for a moment. The sun bled through the distant clouds of a morning sky. Custodians passed, silent and vigilant, through the Hanging Gardens. This has been a tale of the Great Imperium of Man, read by the Remembrancer. As is characteristic of many of the greatest betrayals of humanity, its perpetrators often mask their duplicity, citing their mistreatment. The adherents of the Dark Mechanicum toiled endlessly without reprieve in exchange for what they deemed as unworthy compensation of their labor. Should you collaborate with others to achieve a common goal, be sure to provide commensurate efforts and remittance. For many a brotherhood has been fractured by an act of greed, and it is your responsibility to abide by the principles of mutual exchange, fairness, and honesty.